Hey, it's Lee for On Your Marks Wrestling, and I'm here with a Raw review for May 7th, 2018. We start the day off with Angle coming to the ring. He says that there will be some Money in the Bank matches. Lets you know that they'll involve both Raw and SmackDown competitors, and that there'll be one match for the men and one match for the women. He says that there will be qualifying matches in the upcoming weeks. Bronze music hits. He tells I should say that Angle did announce one of the qualifying matches. I'm going to go through that later. Bronze music hits. He tells a story about kids in his neighborhood building a treehouse and not involving him, so he knocked down the treehouse with them in it. Angle says that he is worthy of getting one of these qualifying matches. Kevin Owens' music hits. He says that the wrong man was pinned at Backlash, and that Strowman cheated and that he was a bad monster, which was kind of funny. So he should be put in timeout. Angle puts Strowman and Owens in a qualifying match together. So that's the first match we get tonight. Strowman dominates early. Owens hits a tornado DDT on the outside to kind of gain a little bit of an advantage. This was more competitive than many matches. Strowman does his running into a post move. He kind of always does stuff like that. He almost gets counted out when he does. He hits Owens with a chokeslam at one point. Then he does an avalanche, but he misses, and Owens super kicks him, and then hits him with a frog splash. Gets a near fall out of that. Nice little sequence for Owens. Owens tries to pop up a powerbomb, but Strowman just kind of lands on his own feet. Strowman tackles Owens 3 times on the outside, so the whole running around the ring and hitting Owens into the barricade thing. It looks cool. They can keep doing that all the time. I'm okay with it. Eventually, Strowman gets the power slam and gets the win. So he's the first member of the Raw roster in the Money in the Bank match. Or is he in the qualifying match? No, I'm pretty sure he's in the Money in the Bank. We have Roman Reigns backstage, and he's whining about being the real champ after being told by Mike Rowe that he really handled his business on Sunday. It just sounded horrible. And then he says he's going to control his yard. I listened to this promo, and I just went like, they want the crowd to hate him, right? You don't make a guy sound like a whiner and use like so many catchphrases that just aren't cool unless you want to be hated. I feel like they're really setting up the greatest heel turn of all time. It has to be, right? I don't know. Then Bayley has a little backstage promo on a cell phone where she says virtually nothing. That's exactly what I wrote. I said she says virtually nothing, and then I write Breezango says even less. So they made a little comedy thing, but it just wasn't landing, so nothing came from it. Then we have Goldust in the back with Angle. He requests a Money in the Bank match opportunity. He's interrupted by Jinder Mahal, who asks for an opportunity as well. Angle mentions that he's been struggling for a while, so it's not like he's going to be given anything. Then we have No Way Jose and Titus Worldwide, so versus Baron Corbin and the Revival. I don't know why I was losing names there. I wrote no one needed the shakeup more than the Revival, and honestly, they didn't do that. So they're still stuck where they are, which is a bit disappointing. Jose gets to shine a little bit with a pop-up right cross, but he missed the blind tag. Corbin surprises him with the End of Days, and bad guys get the win. Whatever. That's fine. Nothing exciting. We get Ember Moon versus Sasha Banks versus Ruby Riott, and this is for a spot in the women's, I keep wanting to say Elimination Chamber, Money in the Bank match. Moon's showing good athleticism early. She hits a beautiful leg sweep, a move that we should see more. I think it looks cool. Riott with a faceplant on Moon. I don't know what to call it. And then she hits an inverted DDT simultaneously on Sasha Banks. So it's basically, I don't know if it's a face plant. It's where you kind of hug the person's face this way. The face is pointing this way. Kind of hug them and drop them down back. And on the other one, she had her arm on top of Sasha and it did an inverted DDT. They both look cool. It was a dual move. It looked neat. There is a cool tope con hilo over the corner by Banks onto Logan and Morgan, so you don't really see it delivered in that direction normally. Riot hits a missile dropkick on Banks, who's on the outside. Moon hits a suicide dive on Riot, and Riot's head hits the barricade. It looked pretty hard, and she didn't really give her time to recover, so she seemed okay, though, but it looked pretty violent, and she gets a near fall out of that, so Moon gets a near fall. Moon is knocked off the ropes by the Riot Squad. There's a Frankensteiner from the top rope by Ruby Riot, but Sasha rolls through and gets a near fall. And then later on, the Riot Squad breaks the pin, or breaks that specific pin, excuse me. Bayley runs in and she takes care of the Riot Squad, the other two members that are not in the match. I don't know why they had this. If they're going to break up the friendship, break up the friendship. It's just so stupid. Sasha is prepping to pull Ruby down for the bank statement, but you don't see that Moon has climbed up to the top rope, and she hits them with the Eclipse. Both of Riot's and Sasha Banks' heads collide, and Moon gets the win with the Eclipse. Really cool finish to a match, actually. Probably maybe the best thing I saw that night. I'm doing this one day late, actually. I watched most of Raw on Monday, but I just couldn't finish it because I was catching up on Backlash from the day before. Charlie Caruso's with Ember Moon, who cuts a determined face promo I wrote. Minor hiccup, but whatever. It wasn't that bad. She sometimes struggles on the mic. This wasn't too bad. There's a little history of Lashley video package. I love this stuff where they say, like, he grew up in a military home and he joined the military and he did these things in college and high school. I love that kind of stuff. Give me more realism. They do that for real sports. Give me that for wrestling. I like it. But then Lashley is interviewed by Renee Young, and he says he's a family man. But then he proceeds to talk about how his sisters legit tortured him as a kid. He goes like, oh yeah, they thought it was hilarious to tie me to a tree in the middle of the forest and leave me there for hours. It was the weirdest thing, and he's saying it with a smile on his face, like he loved it. It was so uncomfortable. And then at the end, he just says, yeah, if I could take a minute, I'd like to tell them, hey sisters, I love you. And I'm like, what? They're horrible people. You shouldn't love them. It was just the weirdest thing I've ever seen. I did not like it at all. Especially coming off of this nice, feel-good video. Just so strange. Very tone-deaf, it felt. Which is kind of what I felt like at Backlash, too, and most of Raw, so I don't know. This is weird. So Sami and Kevin are backstage. They're talking about being targeted. Owens brings up yesterday's spot where they kind of threw each other into the ring, and Zayn says, don't worry about that stuff, and he just asks him to confirm that he'll have his back during the match tonight. And Owens says yes. So then we have Jinder Mahal versus Chad Gable. Gable with the Bret Hart turnbuckle spot. I just referred to it that way because he's the one who did it the best, where you basically run into the turnbuckle sternum first as hard as you can. It just looks cool. There's a moonsault on a standing Mahal by Gable, which looked cool. Eventually, Mahal hits a high knee, which is probably his best looking move. Well, he's got a pretty good kick, too. He hits a kick and gets a Khallas on Gable for the win. This was not as competitive a match as you'd expect, or at least as I'd expect. Later on, Sunil Singh gets into Gable's face after the match, who basically kind of pushes his face away, and Mahal attacks Gable in an impressive beatdown, they like to refer to them as. Then you have a really quick promo of Alexa Bliss saying that she won't be that being the victim of bullying will not keep her from Money in the Bank. We also have a Ascension with a "We Will Rise" promo, which the source feels wrong, but it was actually delivered fairly well. It sounds like "rising." "We will rise" is kind of one of the catchphrases of this Money in the Bank. I don't know if it falls in with this bullying thing, but they were saying it a lot. But I actually thought the Ascension's promo was good, and the fact that they even got some time on the mic was surprising and kind of pleasant. Speaking of surprising mic time, Zack Ryder tells Kurt Angle that he'd be a great story if he won a match for Money in the Bank, especially since they're in Long Island, I believe. Jinder asks Angle to make the main event a fatal four-way, but Angle tells him no. So despite his win, he doesn't get into that match. And Zack Ryder's kind of forgotten for the rest of the night. Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler come out for a match versus Heath Slater and Rhino. There's a cool little spot where McIntyre has, I forget who he has, I think it's Slater, has him by the feet, and Ziggler super kicks him from the outside on the floor, and then he does a reverse Alabama slam onto Slater's face, which was a neat setup. Eventually, and very quickly, this match did not go very long, there's the Zigzag Claymore finish, and I just said McIntyre looks like a star. That guy, his physique, his look, not look, I mean like the way he looks at the screen or the way he looks at his opponents, everything about McIntyre screams star. It's incredible. When he's in the ring, that guy's got a lot of presence. You understand why Vince McMahon had made him the chosen one, and I feel like as long as they keep this going kind of at an organic feel to it, they don't push it too quickly, I think he will be champion pretty soon. Elias compares Bobby Roode to Billy Joel. He says he's a talentless hack, like that. There's a Rusev Day chant that breaks out, and then Roode's music hits. So we get a match between Elias and Bobby Roode. I wrote that there was a step-up enziguri by Roode, which is rare, but it looked pretty good. Way too many rest holds, a theme from Backlash, but this match was really quite boring for most of it. There's a powerbomb by Elias, which gets a near fall. Then Elias is surprised by a glorious DDT while he's talking trash, and Roode gets the win that way. Not much. I don't know why these guys just don't mix very well in the ring. Charlie Caruso interviews Bobby Roode, who says that he's hoping he's earned a qualifying match after beating Elias. Seth Rollins comes out. He acknowledges The Miz's performance at Backlash, the only good thing on Backlash. Says he'll be a fighting champion unlike The Miz, which is strange because The Miz seemed to fight quite a bit while he was champion. At least he showed up all the time, so maybe he wasn't fighting every night, but he was getting beaten up quite a few times. He starts an open challenge. It's answered by Mojo Rawley, who says it's not going to be Monday Night Raw or Rollins anymore. It's going to be Monday Night Rawley. Yeah, fine. That's whatever. The match, I wrote Rawley with a big tackle outside. It looked cool. Rawley showing really good aggression. Like for a guy who's kind of on the lower card, and you have Rollins who's kind of near the top of the card, or at least the top of the mid card. Rollins didn't look that out of place, especially with the aggression that he showed. Rawley. Rollins hits Mojo with a sidekick for a near fall. Mojo with a fireman carry into a face plant, so basically just kind of pops him over his shoulders and pushes him down. I thought that was cool. He gets a near fall out of that. Then there's a kind of a crossing over, I forget what you call that, where you send one guy one way into the ropes, you run into the ropes the other way. There's a tackle by Rawley, which it does damage, it doesn't get a near fall or anything like that. But the end of the match is super kick, high knee, and stomp by Rollins, and he gets the win that way. There's a Balor cell phone promo, so all these promos almost were on cell phones where he's just smiling a lot. He's been smiling a ton of late. But he's doing more heelish things. So if that's the way they're going and he becomes heel, that's cool. If he doesn't go heel and just keeps smiling, it's a little annoying. I just find it's not adding anything to his promos or personality or anything like that. We have Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel versus Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt. Axel and Dallas do a little promo where they say they're no longer supporting cast. It didn't mean much. I thought there was a cool start with Wyatt, who's kind of looking away but senses. I think it's Dallas. It might be Axel actually. He senses Axel coming at him, and he just turns around and clotheslines him. I like the no-look clothesline. He also did. Whenever there's the Wyatt like sensing stuff, I always think it's cool. He was in a match a long time ago where he was partnered with Roman Reigns. They've been feuding for a long time, but they were partnered in this one match. And there's one point where he kind of points to a guy and just knows instinctively that Reigns is behind him and is going to tackle that guy. It was the coolest thing that Reigns has done in about 3 years. So I thought that was neat. There's a new move in the mix. So basically, Hardy and Wyatt both grab. I forget who it was actually. And do kind of a double Sister Abigail now. It's not called Sister Abigail anymore because it's been purged of Sister Abigail. But they basically do a double Sister Abigail. Their finisher is getting better and better. So there was the Sister Abigail start throw into the Twist of Fate, which was kind of like terrible. Then there was the assisted Twist of Fate where Wyatt grabbed the feet and made it almost like a little, it's hard to describe, but yeah, basically Wyatt had the feet up, which made the impact a little greater. That looked a little cooler. This thing with the double Sister Abigail is the coolest looking one of the bunch so far, because just there's more impact. Yeah, I also the only other note I made from this match was that I did actually enjoy the interactions between the announcers for that one. So we're getting closer to the end. We have Natty, who does another little promo, like everybody else, and she tells Tupac that she's bringing the briefcase home. Yeah, okay. Corbin says he feels sorry for all the other competitors, and he goes, no, I don't actually feel sorry for them, I'd have to care. And then he reminds us that he won Money in the Bank last year. Doesn't remind us that he wasted it, but he reminds us that he won it. So we have Roman Reigns versus Finn Balor versus Sami Zayn, and Reigns not getting the best ovation again. Not as bad as some places. He dominates early for like the first 5 minutes. Then Balor and Zayn end up double teaming him on the outside, and the crowd goes nuts for this. There's a hula kick and a coup de grace to Reigns on the outside, which makes it basically a two-man match for a while. Zayn turns on Balor, eventually landing a Blue Thunder Bomb for a near fall. Reigns comes back into the match by jumping the barricade and hitting clothesline on Zayn. It actually looked pretty cool. Balor misses the coup de grace on Zayn. Zayn gets Superman punched while running for a haluva kick on Balor. Reigns Mahal trips Reigns, who's setting up for a spear. So Mahal comes in and interferes a little bit. Sami hits Reigns with a haluva kick, and Balor hits Zayn with a missile drop kick and a coup de grace for the win. So Balor actually gets the berth out of this match, and then you have the Mahal kind of playing spoiler for Reigns. I don't know if that's setting up something for the future, but at least it's probably getting Mahal into some trouble with Angle, and that might be a story. Overall, not the strongest episode. Now, it didn't insult me as much as Backlash did. I felt like Backlash, every decision was wrong. This had a couple moments that weren't bad. But overall, just, it was hard to watch. I had to take a break. I was watching it, and I stopped about 2/3 of the way, and I said, I can't keep doing this. I went to my room and just took a little bit of time. I ended up falling asleep and whatnot, not watching the end until today. But still, I shouldn't need to take a break from your show. If your show is good enough, I should be able to watch it all the way through. I'm going to go ahead and give this a 6 out of 10. It certainly wasn't the debacle of Backlash, but it was a little disappointing. You know what? I'll give it a 6.5. There's a couple little things I kind of liked. So yeah, 6.5 out of 10. That's about as nice as I can be. All right, thanks for watching.